Hello, beautiful people. Today I'm going to cover probably the most important step that we can take to grow our health, the health of the land that we're stewarding, and to just grow ridiculous abundance and all the things. So, what do we have here? What I've done is I went and collected some leaf litter and a little bit of soil from an old growth forest around here. We have a lot of them. And you don't need very much. Don't take too much from the forest. We're not trying to empty our beautiful forests because you just need a seed. A seed of what? You need a seed of all the microbiology that comes from the forest. So there's going to be countless species of bacteria, fungi, protozoa, nematodes, all these beautiful organisms that we want to inoculate our forest and our gardens and our homes and our bodies and all of us with. So I bathe in this. I put this on my body, and it smells delicious. In a moment here, I'm actually going to show and drink some. But either way, how you make it is then you're feeding the microorganisms. So this is about a 27 gallon, bucket. So what did I put in here? Let's come up here. What I did is about a 1/4 pound of salt. So just some basic sea salt. No big deal. If you are planning on drinking it, I'm going to make another batch. I'll make a video of that where I'm going to use much fancier ingredients, and I'm going to make some for myself. But this is for my garden, and I made a lot of it, and it's not a huge deal. So anyway, got some sea salt, some organic potatoes. There's about a 1/4 pound, well, about a 1/2 pound of potatoes for each one of those 25 gallons. There's about a 1/4 pound of salt, so I used about a 1/4 of this. It's 1 pound, right? I used a couple tablespoons of some organic molasses, but next year I'm actually going to be using my own sorghum cane and stuff that I've grown for my garden. I just didn't have a nice good sugar source for my garden, so I had to buy one. And same thing with oil. So I've just used some organic coconut oil. So yeah, it's pretty straightforward because these are nice ingredients for all of those microbiologies that I just told you about. And then you leave it outside. You don't need any fancy temperature. You don't need to bubble it. I just put in these containers outside in the same environment that my gardens are in and left them for about 3 days. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're actually going to take out some of this leaf litter, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with it also. So I put the leaf litter in it. Some people don't do this, so they don't have to strain it afterwards. I just like doing this because I feel like it is making a better batch, and it covers some of the sunlight and other reasons. So anyway, I leave the leaf litter in the container. I added these pine cones afterwards for my own garden because I'm going to inoculate this whole wheelbarrow full of pine cones and pine needles and more leaf litter because this is going to be my mulch. So I'm going to actually dump some of this beautiful inoculant on top of all of that, and that's going to be my mulch on top of plants. After I take this cute little watering container. I'm just using super cheap ingredients, and tools. Some people are going to have nice fancy backpacks you want to put on and use a spray, but whatever. I'm trying to do this without spending really any money. Alright, so I'm going to pour all of this out. I'm going to take this stuff out, and then I'm going to put it in that wheelbarrow, and then I'll come back to you guys. Okay, so now I fished out all that litter, so that I can now fill up my pails, which I'm going to do. And also I'm going to show you something. I know this seems all disgusting, but actually it's really freaking delicious. I've been making kombucha for years and years and years. And I think this is actually the best kombucha batch I've ever made. Like, look at this. I'm actually going to drink some. You want to watch? It's actually really good. But I'm not going to have too much of it because I'm going to make my own batch with some, a little bit fancier ingredients because I also use just my well water rather than spring water for this. And it should taste good. If it doesn't taste good and it's not delicious, your garden and plants aren't going to like it either, and you messed up. So yeah, it's a pretty straightforward process. And again, what you're doing here is you're adding a ton of microbiology to our gardens. That is really the key here because it's those guys who are going to break down our soil and break down everything else in our soil, like the inorganic matter, the mulch I'm going to put on there. And they're the ones that are feeding our plants. And truly, these guys are the species that have been here for billions of years longer than us. They kind of know what they're doing. And if we create habitat for them, they'll take care of us. So really the big secret to health of our gardens, our landscapes, our internal soil, ourselves, and everything is these guys. So that's where the big key is going to an old growth forest, some of the places that have been, creating organisms for the longest time, and going and collecting from there. And you want it to be in the same bioregion that you're a part of, because otherwise it might not apply to your environment, your growing conditions, the plants that grow in your environment, etc. So you don't want to travel somewhere else too far. So we got this from about 30 minutes away from where we live. All right, so basically all I'm going to do now is I'm going to keep filling up pails of water like this and going and taking it to my garden plants. So you see I have a little healing hole that I had made right here. And then I'm just gonna water it right at the base of the plants, right down here, so these microorganisms can come get in with the soil and help these plants do a phenomenal job. And I kind of wish I would have done this sooner. I've been kind of dragging my feet because I'm a super lazy gardener and I got a lot of things going on. So that's also my methodology here, is how do you grow food abundance in the most lazy, least effortful way, because that's the reality of our world, right? People have a lot of things going on. We're really, really busy or being inundated. So we've got to figure out how to grow abundance and take care of ourselves without taking too much time. So truly, that's what this is all about. So let me keep showing you what I'm doing here. And you can get it on the leaves too, no problem. This stuff is just, super healthy, incredibly good. It's good for your body. If you ever have any fungal or bacteria overgrowths on your body or cuts or anything like that, adding this to it, fantastic. Gets rid of infection. Because all an infection is, same thing like in your garden, it's an overgrowth of one particular organism. So if you add millions of different organisms in there, right, or tens of thousands or however many you get in your inoculant, they start competing with each other and start creating harmony and balance, which is really what you're going after. As you see an overgrowth of one thing, instead of trying to kill that one thing and end up having no life at all, which is currently what we're trying to do, we're trying to kill all life. What you want to do is you just want to add a ton of more life. So that's really all we're doing here, is we went and collected life from some ancient forests, some of the best life out there. Then we went and fed them so that we multiplied them. So that's all we did over the 3-day period. We added a bunch of food that they love to eat. They love sugars and carbs and fats and simple things just like that, like we do. Because it's not actually us who loves those things, it's the microorganisms in our guts who love those things. Then when they break it apart, we take what they break apart, which is literal sunlight, and then we use that to do everything our bodies need to do. And if you want to know more about that, I'm getting a lot of this information from Dr. Zach Bush, who gets down into the details of how it works, and it's just so phenomenal. But at the end of the day, it is all about these microorganisms, right? So that's why I say this is probably one of the biggest and most important steps you could take to grow abundance and grow health in your lives. And hope this was helpful. Now I'm going to go and have a bunch of fun feeding my gardens and plants with this. Last thing I want to tell you is I am going to dump a bunch of that on top of this big pile of mulch so that I have even more. So it's going to inoculate all of this leaf matter, and this is just going to be a super food mix for all of my plants. And this cost me a couple dollars to make. I used just some of the ingredients I already had, which is a big key here, grown potatoes myself, right? And in the future, this is going to cost me absolutely nothing. But you also don't need to add it a bunch, because these microorganisms are alive. And as long as there's plants that are taking sunlight and turning it into sugars to keep feeding them, they'll stay alive in your garden forever. So this is really something you only have to do like once or twice. And if you wanted to, then next time you go to like a completely different diverse ecosystem, you can do it again. So we can add more and more and more diverse bacteria, biology, fungi, nematodes, protozoas, and all of these microorganisms. We just want more and more and more life in our environments, because that's what creates health. It's just more life, more diversity creates more health. And that's what we're doing here. Okay, love y'all. Hopefully this was helpful, and have a great time.